Good morning, everybody. We'll be starting the webinar in just a minute or two. Before that, if I could just ask for an audio and video check. Just want to confirm that the video of my screen is coming through and you can hear me loud and clear. There's a questions tool in the GoToWebinar software. If, I could just ask if you can hear me just fine and see the screen, if you can just type in to confirm it's all working. Great, thanks everybody for that feedback. Looks like everything is working as expected. So let's get started. Good morning again. I guess good morning if you're on the West Coast, or good afternoon if you're on the East Coast or elsewhere in the world. My name is Ken Shaw. I'm CEO here at SOS, and welcome to our ongoing series of webinars. We do these webinars several times a month, 2 or 3 times a month. And the focus of these webinars is talking to existing and prospective partners of SOS, talking about the online backup industry and specifically how to get involved and how to succeed in selling a white-labeled online backup solution to your customers. So the intended audience for today's webinar is both prospective and existing partners. And among prospective partners, our typical partners are MSPs, IT resellers, anybody who's really selling IT's goods and services to consumer and small business customers. We'll take in terms of the agenda, we'll go briefly through SOS's company history. We'll then look at the backup industry as a whole. We'll then look at traditional backup technology stacks and the problems inherent in those technologies. And then we'll turn to online backup and how online backup both solves a lot of those problems from a technology standpoint, but then most important, I think, to everybody, the economics of what it looks like to be an online backup reseller and the actual business of online backup. We'll do a dedicated Q&A at the end. That'll start at roughly half past the hour, although we usually run a little late. But the best part of these webinars is when we get as much interaction as possible. So I'd ask you to use the questions tool that I can see a lot of you have already used for the audio check. So please use the questions tool to ask questions throughout, and throughout the presentation I'll be asking you all questions as well. So actually starting with that, if I can just ask everybody who's on the line, can you just type whether you're an existing partner or a prospective partner, and that'll help me shape the message to who we've got in the audience today. So just use the question section of GoToWebinar to type that in. And then the Kindle giveaway, we always give a Kindle away with these webinars. The details for that promotion will be at the end of the webinar, so stick around for that. All right, so let's dive in. Just briefly on who SOS is. There's some assumption that if you're at today's webinar, you're already relatively familiar with the company. But we've been around since 2001, originally in Australia. Always focused on the online backup industry, which back in 2001 was very much a new market. It's now a very exciting and fast growth market. We've grown with that industry trend. We're now a global firm, 150 employees worldwide, headquartered in California. More than 3 million accounts have been on our system in the decade we've been in business. We've backed up more than 10 million PCs over that time. This last point's an interesting one, grown 300% since 2009. The reason that's interesting to all of you is because SOS is a little bit different to most of the other online backup companies you're probably familiar with. First is that we've always focused on offering online backup infrastructure as a service, so a platform as a service, if you will. And we currently power actually more than 400 white label partners. This says 300, but it's a little bit out of date. And so that then highlights the second reason SOS is different. We're the only major online backup company that's channel focused. So we've got more than 1,000 companies around the world that are our partners, our exclusive online backup partners, and we've got more than 400 of our partners who have white labeled solutions. So really where our expertise comes in is helping you leverage all of our technology to bring a custom solution to your customers. So this point about our growth is really an indicator of the success that our partners have, because we really don't succeed unless our partners do. And so we're growing fantastically, but that's really because our partners are having so much success selling online backup to their customers. In terms of where we sit in the market, we're very much small business focused. We sell to small businesses directly, although it's a very small part of our business. We mainly focus on selling to resellers and IT vendors who sell to SMBs. We've got consumer solutions as well, and they're quite popular among some of our partners. So if you're selling to home users, you're well served with our solution as well. And we've got some enterprise solutions. We're not a total enterprise backup solution, so if your customers are exclusively Fortune 500, then this is going to be one of the tools in your backup toolkit. It's not going to be every tool in your backup toolkit, whereas in the SMB and consumer markets, we're a one-stop shop from a technology standpoint. And this slide really captures what it is that we do. We take all of our technology and know-how, we then run that through the filter of your business to come up with a custom product and custom SKUs and bundles for your customers to allow you to sell your own white-labeled custom backup product, with the end goal being incremental, high-margin, recurring revenue for your business. So that's really what today's webinar is about. Here are a couple of examples of the type of white labeling we do. These are actually screenshots of software rebranded and marketing materials, and we're going to see quite a bit more of this later on in the presentation. All right, so let's turn now and look at the backup technology landscape. In terms of one of the first and most frequently asked questions we get is, for who is this solution most appropriate, and how do I sell this? So if you're selling to consumers, how do I sell it? If you're selling to small businesses, how do I sell it? In taking a step back and looking at the computing industry as it is today, generally in the consumer space, there is no embedded backup solution. Big announcement from Apple yesterday about iCloud. HP's have made a lot of announcements. Microsoft's put a lot of effort into promoting their cloud services, but generally there has not been mass adoption by consumers of any backup technology, period, let alone online backup. It's changing rapidly, though. We're seeing very fast adoption of online backup in the consumer space, mainly because there's a void there. So if most of your customers are home users, you're selling this into a void currently. They probably don't have an adequate backup solution in place, and this is there's an opportunity there for you to sell your solution into that space. In the small business world, things are a little bit different. There are typically backup solutions already in place. It's usually a hardware, software, what we call labor solution. What I mean by that is most backup solutions that are in place today, and tape is still the vast preponderance of most on-site backup solutions, they're what we call centrally architected hardware solutions, which is just a fancy way of saying tape or disk attached to a server with some software layer to automate some of the work. They're still very labor intensive and still very costly to run. In the enterprise, you've got a similar structure being adopted to backup and disaster recovery. Oftentimes the architecture is the same. It's just that the constituent components are far more expensive on a per line item basis. So typical ASP in terms of your average sale price to a customer in the home user space might be $100 a year, to small businesses might be $1,000 a year, and to enterprise might be $50,000 a year. So when we move to cloud backup, we still have all those same elements, except it's all being delivered via the cloud in one simple subscription model to your customers, which is both a much better backup service that we're delivering to those customers at a much better price. And we're seeing two trends in the market. We're seeing a massive decline in some of the traditional backup technologies, most notably tape. So tape has gone from being over nearly $2.5 billion in annual sales down to just over $1.5 billion in annual sales in the last few years. And we're seeing an inverted trend. We're seeing that spend moving to the cloud. So a recent article from CTO Edge magazine actually has more than 70% of CIOs saying that they're intending on moving all or part of their backup load to the cloud in the next few years. So we're seeing quite a large shift in the approach to backup, both in small business and in enterprise. And that led to actually a quote from one of our partners, which is that if we don't sell our customers cloud-based backup, someone else is going to, so why not us? And that's a recurring theme in everything you'll hear from SOS, is that there's a land grab going on in online backup right now. And as IT resellers, you're in a position to influence your customers and to give them the best solution, but also to capture that customer relationship. 5 years from now, all of your customers will be using some sort of cloud storage or cloud backup product. The question is, are you going to be part of that, or are you going to be circumvented by cloud vendors who are going direct to the customer? At SOS, our mission is to make sure that you stay involved in that and that you get a piece of the backup business, even as we emerge into a cloud-driven backup technology environment. And so the next two slides focus on both the fact that online backup is far cheaper for your customers, and then we'll look at the technology and see how online backup is a far superior technology solution. This is a snapshot taken from one of our customers, was actually from a partner where one of his customers was coming across to our system. The tape solution that they were looking at was an initial purchase of $6,100 and a total 5-year cost of $9,000, covering the hardware and the software. So this excludes any of the labor component associated with running and managing this solution. With online backup, the exact business environment, which was 8 or 9 employees in a small office and one server to be backed up. The same environment was only $1,000 per year to back up with online backup, so 16% of the cost of the hardware solution. And then what's really interesting about that is that although the cost of the customer was so much less, the margin of the reseller was actually better. So we've seen commissions on hardware decline into low single digits. On tape in particular, margins are extremely thin. So on this particular sale, the partner was looking at a commission of roughly $500 on that sale, whereas with online backup, the partner's making 50% per year. So over the 5-year period, the partner's got $2,500 in revenue for that same customer. So netting this out, we've got a solution that is far technologically superior to tape and disk backup at a far lower price for the end customer, and still involves healthy margins for resellers. So let's look just briefly at some of the technology advantages of online backup at a high level, and then after this we'll be taking a detailed walkthrough of the SOS product. At a high level, these are the vectors that we use to analyze hardware-based backup versus online backup. So just going through these stepwise. Deployment. With hardware backup, deployment's always been quite an issue. You've got physical infrastructure deploy, and then you've usually got software agents that need to be installed and configured everywhere in the network. Quite a headache. With online backup, it's simple network software. You can deploy it centrally. You can manage it all